Hello everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I'm David Jones and normally do this every Friday. There won't be a live stream next Friday because I'm away, but there will be one in 2 weeks' time. So just to explain how this works, do this normally every week. We'll start off by taking a look at the major events for next week in the markets, and then we will look at some of the bigger markets, indices, FX, gold, silver, oil, Bitcoin, all the usual stuff. And if there's any stuff that you want looking at, put it into the chat. And once we've been through the normal markets, we'll have a look at the stuff you want looking at. We'll try and do some trades as well. We normally try and do some trades. Did the natural gas trade last week, which is doing all right on the live stream. We'll talk about that as well. But what a week it has been. My word. If you haven't made money this week, you need to sit down and have a very good talking to yourself. Although I know lots of people will have been the wrong side of some of these moves, but I mean, this is the Nasdaq. We'll look at this in a bit more detail. Nasdaq has just gone like a rocket this week, as has the S&P. Trading up now. The Nasdaq US markets have just opened. Trading up where we were March 2022. S&P broke out through the August 2022 highs. Some of the other markets, Swiss yen, I've been in that trade this week. Another one that's been an absolute rocket for the week. Pounding against the dollar has broken out to a 12-month high, and the rest. So absolutely crazy week. Really strong trends this week. But more about that as we get into it. Let's get some of the housekeeping stuff done. Do a risk warning just for the sake of good order. This presentation is only for educational purposes. It does not contain and should not be construed as containing investment advice or an investment recommendation or an offer of or solicitation for a transaction in any financial instrument. David Jones accepts no responsibility for any use that may be made of these comments and for any consequences that result. You should consider whether you understand how spread bets, CFDs, futures, foreign exchange work, and whether you can afford to take the high risk of losing your money. Trading is risky. Right. So next week, I mean, it's been a big week this week, just gone. We had US inflation data on Tuesday, which was, it's a big deal because inflation's a big deal at the moment. US inflation has been falling. Wednesday of this week was the big one, the interest rate decision in the US. No change is expected, but a suggestion that perhaps there are 2 more rate hikes to come in the US. Anyway, that was this week. Looking ahead to next week, I think we've still got some big data, not as big as this week, but there's still some stuff out there. So we've got Chinese interest rate Tuesday morning, I think. I don't know how important that's going to be. Not that important, I don't think. Wednesday, we've got UK inflation. UK inflation is, I think, proving to be a bit more stubborn than its US counterpart. But UK inflation, I think, is expected to fall, but only by 0.1% is what I read before I came on. Anyway, Wednesday morning, UK inflation. Thursday, UK interest rates, a rise, I think, is expected by the Bank of England on Thursday. So that's probably one of the bigger ones for next week. And the other big one, I don't know how big it is, but I saw it and I thought I'd mention it. US bank stress tests, perhaps not that important, but that's Thursday afternoon. So for me, next week, UK interest rate, UK inflation on Wednesday. I wonder if the inflation is the bigger deal than the interest rates. Let's see. So Wednesday, Thursday next week, the UK data is for me the big one. Right. Quick word from our sponsor, which is me. I'm going to talk quickly about the trading course. I run a trading course, as you know, run it for a couple of years now. Medium-term trading and short-term trading. Lots of content on that, lots of pre-recorded content, lots of live content as well if you sign up to the trading course in terms of live webinars. And there's a WhatsApp group as well that runs. But what I'm going to, that was the numbers, that was the trading I did. If you've been on the channel since the beginning, you'll know I talked about this account November through to January that I traded. Started off with £4,000 by the end of January, booked profits of £2,194. I have to say, of course, past performance is no guarantee of future performance, but real money, real trades. You can see all the details on the website. To give you an update on my current trading, I mentioned it in the WhatsApp group this morning. I've had my best period since at least November last year. So if I show you the numbers, I'm doing a 3-month public trading thing again to talk about the techniques in the course. I started it in May. These are the numbers so far. This is a real account. It's my account that I'm using for this. The performance, this again is unrealistic. If I was a con artist, I'd say, look, in 6 weeks, my account is up 57%. It is up 57%. Actually, those are closed trades. If I had the open positions running, which I'll show you in a second, it's up about 80% in 6 weeks. However, it has been something of a barnstorming 6 to 7 weeks. So win rate 61%. So 6 out of 10 trades have been profitable. Slightly better than my historical norm. This is the number I'm really pleased with though. Risk reward. So if I lose 100 quid on a trade, when I'm right, I make 158 quid. And that balance is absolutely critical. So booked profits so far over the last 6 weeks on a £5,000 account have been £2,366 of booked profits. Real money. If I show you the positions, I've still got £1,400 worth of open positions profit running on this account. Big winner. We'll talk about these a bit today. Swiss yen has been the big winner for this week. I'm in a crude oil trade. There's a few other bits and pieces in there as well. Blah, blah, blah. So real account, real money, real trading, all using the techniques I talk about on the trading course. There's also this account. If I click over, this is the account we use for the YouTube trading. That's up about 50% since I started trading that just in these YouTube live sessions. When did that start? End of March. So came out of the Tesla trade this week, got stopped out on a little wiggle back on Tesla. That worked quite well though, 260 quid profit on that. Got stopped out of the dollar index trade that we did last Friday, lost 98 quid on that. But we also did the natural gas trade last Friday, that's up $240. And the big winner is that Snowflake, this one here, stock trade we did a few weeks ago. So that account's doing well as well. But so you can see, more details about my performance on the website. But the reason I talk about all of that is because today I want to talk about the WhatsApp group. So the WhatsApp group used to be just for people who've been on the course. I've opened it up the last few weeks. In the WhatsApp group, every day, I do a daily update. What am I looking at? What trades am I in? All of that. Bit of chat about markets. Okay. There's a Q&A. If you have any questions, you can fire any questions in. You don't need to have done the trading course anymore to do it. I hope if you join the WhatsApp group that perhaps you will decide to join the trading course. But basically, you can join the WhatsApp group. It's on a month-by-month basis. If you use the code YouTube, then you get a 20% discount for the first month. It's 50 quid a month. It's 40 quid a month with a discount. £2 a day, trading day, less than a price of the £3 I paid for a flat white today in my local cafe. So I think if you're serious about trading, you should give it a go. That's an example of the sort of stuff I talk about. A bit of blurb about the markets, what trade I'm in, and the markets to watch. All the details are in the description to today. If you go to the website, that's the website, davidjonestrading.co.uk. Go to subscribe, then you can choose the WhatsApp group. I think you need to create like a membership on the site. Just put your email address in, and then if you put in YouTube and apply the thingy, the discount, there you go, £10 off, and you can cancel after the first month. So if you want to, and of course I hope you won't, but give it a go. So that's the WhatsApp group that I run. 5-star Trustpilot reviews. I do a newsletter that comes out every weekend, normally, if I can remember to write it, and all that. You can sign up for the newsletter on the website as well, davidjonestrading.co.uk. If you go to the website and scroll down, there's a box somewhere. I don't know where it is. There it is. There's a box there to put your email in. That's free. Okay, so I would really recommend that you sign up for the WhatsApp group and try it. Okay, and use the code YouTube. Right, let's go and have a look at these markets, see what's going on. and let's see if we can get some trades on at the same time. So at the moment, in this YouTube account, we've got a few trades. Got the Snowflake trade on, got the natural gas trade on, got General Electric on, and the loser at the moment is Pioneer Natural Resources, a stock. We'll come back to that, but let's start off with these markets. I mean, here we go again, an incredible run by stock markets. I mean, what's the Nasdaq done? If we go back to the last major low in March, so we've got to go back 3 months. So 3 months ago, the market traded to 11.7, and here we are at 15.2. So we're 3,500 points higher? 3,500 points higher from 11.7. What's that? 30% plus move in 3 months on the Nasdaq. Absolute storming run. I think it's interesting here on the Nasdaq because we are at an area where it was a problem on the way down after we saw this market top out in November and December 2021. Sells off, have a rally, sells off, have a rally, sells off properly. So interesting up here, 15,275. What would you do? I mean, if the thing is going to run out of steam and at least have a little rest somewhere, then I think this is an interesting area. But you know, the thing has done 1,000 points since a week yesterday, which, you know, again, what's that? About 6% move in the last 6 days, 1% a day. Fantastic return. Let's see what happens. I mean, I do have a longer term trade in the Nasdaq. I talked about it in the newsletter last week. I've been in my longer term trade since the 14th of February, Valentine's Day. There we go. Fell in love with the Nasdaq about 4 months ago. I'm still in that trade, but I've been dying to get a short term trade on, and it's just run away from me this week, the Nasdaq. So I'm not in the trade there. I think it's going to be interesting if we do get a bit of volatility and a bit of a sell-off and a bit of a pullback next week. I will absolutely be buying the dip next week, but we need to have a dip in the first place for me. So let's see what happens. Does this end up being a bit of a problem for the Nasdaq up here? Same with the S&P. You know, again, you know, a week ago I thought maybe we'd have a bit of to and fro around this 43.25 level for the S&P from the highs in August of last year. Hardly even blinked, you know, just went sailing through. You know, again, for me, it's a buy the dip market. The S&P, I've drawn the wrong thing. I always pick the wrong trend line. Hang on a second. You know, this is absolutely a buy the dip market. And let's have a quick look. If we look at a popular broker client sentiment on the S&P index, which way do we think most clients are? So you have a wild stab in the dark as to which way most clients are positioned. What a surprise. Here we go. So on the S&P 500 with a popular broker, 71% of clients are short on this market. Of course they are. It's gone up every day for 2 weeks. Why wouldn't they be short? So there we go. It's always a good contrary indicator that see, is there an extreme in sentiment in a market, and look to go the other way. So if everyone's betting for the thing to go down, look for the buying opportunity, because we know, of course, 70, 75, 80% of people lose money trading. And one of the big reasons they lose money because they cannot follow trends. We looked in the WhatsApp group this morning, an even more extreme one. Let me show you. Swiss yen, which has been my biggest winning trade this year so far. We looked at Swiss yen. There we go. Let me show you the chart. There we go. Absolute trendorama. Swiss yen. Of course, though, which way are people positioned on Swiss yen? 88% of clients who have a trade on Swiss yen are short this market. Of course they're short. Things at a multi-year high. Why wouldn't you be short? But yeah, so for me, still buying the dip on the S&P and on stock market indices. I think it was quite interesting about a month ago. There was a lot of talk, and there still is a lot of talk about the threat of a US recession and what does it mean for stock markets and blah, blah, blah. Stock markets do not care at the moment, you know, and I think it's always quite interesting when the theme in the media is about, oh my God, things are going to get really worse and the market's going up. For me, is always a great indicator. I still want to be in this trend. Yeah, ignore as a general rule of thumb, whatever the media are talking about when it comes to markets. Okay, next one. Thank you, Andy. I'm glad you appreciate my normal humour. So we're buying dips, aren't we? We're buying dips, or I'm buying dips, I should say, in these stock markets because the strength has been pretty much off the scale over the last few weeks. Now we've got to go back to last summer to see moves like this, where the market hardly looked back. My gut feeling is that we are due an overreaction. We're due a pullback. We have overextended. We're due a pullback, but to be honest, I felt that on Monday of this week, and we've not had the pullback. So there you go. Let's see what happens. DAX. I was in the DAX trade this week. I came out of it. I got stopped out for a profit. Good profit in the end. That's pushed a little bit higher today. These are all-time highs on the DAX. So this looks like a strong finish to the week for the German market. An interesting one next week. Let's see what happens. Clearly a lot depends on what happens in US markets. Let's see what happens up there. But a strong finish on the DAX. Again, I'll be a buyer of the dips on the DAX. It's currently at 16,360. Only if it fell back through 15.6 would I start to think this trend is in trouble. So that looks to me a strong market. FTSE is a little bit, quite a different makeup, obviously, the FTSE to the DAX and particularly the US market. So something of a sideways week in this market, the FTSE 100. I think if we saw other markets under pressure, the more defensive nature of the FTSE would come to the fore, and that could be an interesting one. But for me, not too much interest in the FTSE over the last week. Japan, I must admit, I've not been paying attention to this, but what a run in if there's a noise you can hear in the background, I think there's somebody drilling outside. Just hold on a sec. Shut the door. What a run we've had in the Nikkei, the Japanese market. It's gone from these lows in March around 26.8 to 33.8 at the moment. So there's a 7,000 point move, which is again not far off 30%. So again, for me, I would be looking to buy a dip in the Nikkei. The problem has been the last couple of weeks, the dips have been pretty short-lived. So I would quite welcome some sort of pullback in these stocks. But let's see what happens. Some real strength in these stock markets, and for me, they are still very much the markets to watch next week. I think it's a US holiday on Monday, so we might have to wait till Tuesday to see real trading again after today. But a really interesting, and some great moves in these markets. If we look at some of the other stuff now, let's look at the dollar index. I think this has been, for me anyway, this is quite a confusing market at the moment, because I've talked about it a lot in the past. I've absolutely loved this market on the way up. Did lots of trades on the way up in the dollar index because we had such a great trend, on the way up from June 2021 through to September 22. Brilliant trend. Then we had this market sell off. And then we've seen it this year, make this base, hits a low in Feb, comes back to the same lows in April, and just chops around. So I don't know. So for me, I would be leaning towards this downtrend is over. So I do have a medium-term short trade on the dollar index, which is slightly in profit. But I do wonder if it sells off much further from here, do we see a bounce again? So I think it's a tricky one for me at the moment. If it breaks below these old lows around about 101, then I think we see a bigger sell-off. But I think it's a hard market to call at the moment, broadly sideways, as you can see, since February of this year. So let's see, but always an interesting market to watch. What hasn't been broadly sideways, pound against the dollar. What a fantastic run this market has had since October last year. We had the third touch of the trend in May, and bang, here we are just today, trading at the best levels since April 2022. So we're at 13, 14-month highs on the pound against the dollar. So again, this for me is another one. I want to be a buyer of the dip. If I was in some other trades, so I wasn't paying attention, but I think this was clearly back here, whenever that was, end of May, was an interesting opportunity. And here we are now up at 128.30. You know, if we're looking at next targets for the pound, for me, I mean, maybe 132. If I had to come up with a target from here, maybe 132. The March 2022 highs looks like a good objective. You know, if we look at the RSI, you know, pretty overbought. So again, perhaps a bit overstretched in the short term. Let's see what happens. But a great run by that. Euro dollar, not as strong as the pound. Perhaps a bit choppier. Again, I'd like to buy a dip in the euro dollar. I'd rather buy a deeper dip though, down to 106. The risk is if I wait for that, it never happens. But there we go. Let's see what happens to that. Dollar yen. I've been in a dollar yen trade since February as well. Still in that trade. Buy of the dips we had. What did the Bank of Japan do? They did. Did they not move on rates this morning? Keeps low rates and dovish guidance. There we go. That was the thing from this morning. So we saw some volatility overnight. Keeps ultra low interest rates. Yield cap unchanged. There we go. Supporting a fragile economic recovery. Anyway, bit of volatility, but overall, that dollar yen trend absolutely still up. So I am quite happy to add to the position and look to buy any weakness. You know, again, for me, even if we saw the market sell off 600 points from here, you know, we're only back to where it was a month ago, and that trend is still up. So I'd still be a buyer of dollar yen on any weakness based on the daily charts. And the big trade for me this week, taking the out of the equation, the dollar out of the equation, has been Swiss yen. And if you look at something like sterling yen as well, you know, that's had a great move. So we have a strong currency, not so much the dollar, but the pound or the Swiss franc against one of the weaker currencies, the Japanese yen, and it sort of exaggerates the move. So a massive move, which has been going for a while. You know, we had these old highs in Swiss yen in September last year, breaks out in April, faffs around a bit of a breakout, and away we go. Similar moves in euro yen. There we go. Another, you know, really good trend in euro yen. 500 point move over the last week in euro yen. Another one that's breaking out. I think, you know, particularly the last week, we have seen some extreme trends, which has been great if you've been a trend follower. You know, and it's been difficult, I think, to actually jump on the trend, but it absolutely demonstrates, you know, once again, the importance of trading with trends. You know, I don't believe in a lot of technical analysis. I qualified as a technical analyst back in 1995, but, you know, stuff like Fibonacci, Gann, Elliott wave, I think is utter rubbish. But you cannot argue with trends, or you can argue with trends, but you probably lose money. So some really big moves. But I do think it all feels a bit overextended. So it's been a really, really good week, really good couple of weeks for me. I'm going to be perhaps a bit cautious about putting on new trades next week. It'd be really nice to have some pullbacks in these markets. Let's see what happens. Let's look at the other stuff. Oil. I think I bought oil the other day on a short-term trade. Medium term, I think it's still really boring. Oil. Let's get rid of some of those things. So, you know, we had the run up in March 22 to 128, 130 a barrel on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Retest that ran out of steam in June of last year. Oil was nearly double a year ago where it is now. Anyway, sells off, blah, blah, blah. Is that trend over? I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it is, but it's all a bit sideways at the moment. So for me, from a medium-term point of view, there's nothing too obvious to do on oil. I bought it this week. What was the reason for the trade? I think it was because it came back to, so it's sideways. So I wanted to trade it at the bottom of the range. So I bought it in there somewhere. 67 it held. We've had a bit of a bounce. It's still all a bit choppy. So I'm still in the trade. I've got a trailing stop on the trade. Let's see what happens. Natural gas. Natural gas, the old favourite. Now, the natural gas trade has done well. We put this trade on in the live stream last week. Oh, it's the first move through the downtrend line. This is maybe interesting. We've seen this downtrend in natural gas from $10 in August of 2022. This downtrend has done a good job of keeping the price, stopping any rallies. But look at this. It's the first sign. Get ready. Buckle up. Is the natural gas train about to leave the station? I think it's a little bit early to get too excited, but it's interesting. It's the first move through the downtrend. Even though I am long at the moment, I'd be tempted to go short next week because we saw natural gas run up to 262 just in May, end of May, 19th of May, sorry, and run out of steam and drop back to $2. Is it going to happen next week? I don't know. We bought it in the live stream last week. Let's have a look. The trend was something like that. So when was Friday? That was a week ago. So bought it in there. And it's had this, again, this explosive move yesterday for whatever reason. I don't know. I would be just a bit cautious on natural gas going into next week. Let's see what happens. Does 260, 262 hold the price back down? Let's see. Has it done it already? So for me, I do have a trading stop loss somewhere on that natural gas trade. Where's the stop? 247 at the moment. Oh, the market's 252, so I might even get out of it this afternoon. Let's see what happens on natural gas. But interesting that on the dailies, it's the first move through the downtrend. I'm sure there's a clickbait natural gas video to do off that breakthrough the downtrend, coming to a YouTube channel near you soon. So interesting, natural gas. Gold and silver. And it's been a funny week for gold. I'm long gold as well at the moment. It's not done much. You can see over the last 2 weeks or so, it's not done much. I did wonder if we were going to see the market move back up to 2060, 2080 again off this trend line. It's just going sideways through the trend line, isn't it? So I'm in the trade from 1946, I think is where I bought in here. It was back here a week last Thursday. So I bought at 1946. It was up a bit, it was down a bit, it's been up a bit again. It's been a bit of a nothing trade, as you can see, off the sideways stuff. Let's see. I'm quite happy to sit with the trade and see what happens. But based on that daily chart, it does look a little bit boring, doesn't it? So there you go. Silver. The big trend, the bigger trend going back to September last year for silver is up. I don't trade silver hardly at all because I always get it wrong. Silver, just as I get into a trend, it's just when the trend is going to end. So I've got a bit of an emotional dislike of silver. But I don't know. What do you think? It's been a bit more trendy than gold. Well, I suppose it hasn't actually. It's still a bit sideways. I don't know on silver. I'd buy a bigger dip back to maybe 22. At 24, I'm not quite sure what I would do. So there's nothing really jumping out for me on silver at the moment. And then let's take a look at the Bitcoin. I'd be a buyer of the dip on Bitcoin. It traded down yesterday to its lowest level since March of this year. Sorry, so that's what's that? A 3-month low on Bitcoin. It broke that support that had been holding it up, but I wouldn't buy it today. But I still think that's an interesting market, given what the trend has been this year. I think it'd be interesting. Do we see buyers come back in around about here? Like I say, I'd be in no hurry to buy at the moment. You could absolutely make the argument that the trend on Bitcoin is down. If you picked up on these highs, that trend on the hourly charts from the end of May is still down, and it needs to rally through, at least 26,200 to break that trend. So a bit of patience on that one, but I do wonder if we will see, perhaps a bit of a resurgence of Bitcoin. Who knows? Let's see what happens, but nothing too exciting on that one. So before we get into the stuff you want looking at, what to watch next week? I mean, for me, it is still stock markets, NASDAQ and S&P for me. Is this going to be a bit of a line in the sand up here for the Nasdaq, 15,275 or thereabouts. The old highs from last year on the way down last year. Let's see. I think it's interesting to see what happens. Currency markets, pound against the dollar, has had a good on move. Perhaps a bit overextended. Some of these ones against the yen that take out the dollar are interesting. So absolutely, I would, if I get taken out of this trade, if it sells off and I come out for a decent profit, I'd quite happy be looking to buy a dip in some of these other yen crosses next week. You know, bits and pieces to watch, but absolutely the big focus for me is stock markets. So as usual, for that WhatsApp thing, try the WhatsApp group thing out. It's £40 for a month with a discount. You can stop after a month if you hate it. I don't think you will. But it's a daily update for me. Markets I'm watching, trades I'm running, Q&A, and use the code YouTube to sign up on the website. All the details are in the description. Like I say, it's updates for me every day. That's what it is. So it's all on the website, davidjonestrading.co.uk. Right, let's have a look at some of the stuff you want looking at. Let's see what looks interesting today. Let's have a quick look. What have we got? I saw that the gent, you mentioned Anglo-American. I've got those. No, it's not. Okay. Now, do you mean Anglo-American? You must mean Anglo-American. I was thinking of the other one, ALL. American Airlines is Anglo-American. So do you mean Anglo-American? Yes, you do. Do you know what? My brain's gone. You mean American Airlines. I was thinking AAL because I got those in my SIP. Anyway, let's get back to what you were talking about. American Airlines. So you bought them at 15.55. That's a good. I must admit, it's not a trade I would have done because it's a bit too much in the middle for me. That one, but I think they're interesting. American Airlines. Oh, let's go back. Look at that big downtrend. So with the big downtrend, let's just try and have a look at this. So we had the big downtrend, which for me has probably ended, and then it sort of thought about it and had another downtrend, didn't it? Which I can't pick up on. Hold on a sec. Let's have a look at those. And is that ending? Interesting chart, Anglo-American. I'd be a buyer, but I'd be a buyer of a dip as usual. Wait to see if the dip happens. Let's see what happens. But I wonder if medium term for me, that's an interesting one. Is it turning around this big downtrend it's been in? I think, you know, maybe if you see a bit more strength from here, maybe 1760 ends up being a problem. The old highs from wherever it was in Jan of this year. But an interesting one, that, taking into account the bigger picture. Let's see what happens. Intel, let's have a look at Intel. Oh, that's another good one, isn't it? This is one again. What have we had to move on? Is it earnings or is it something else? Intel plans to build $4.6 billion semiconductor assembly test plant in Poland. Oh, Poland. All right, interesting one. For me, I'll buy the dip. The risk is, as usual, I'd miss out on it. But I think it's clearly we've looked at this one before because I've had a trend line on this before. You know, a nice basing pattern for most of this year, and it's started to take off. Me, I'd rather buy the dip with a stop the other side of 27 on Intel. But clearly, if someone's in it already, nice move over the last couple of weeks on Intel. That's an interesting one. Alibaba. This, I remember looking at this one all the way down from wherever it was, 320 in October 2020, and broke out in December 2022, and now it's boring. I think it was, you know, it looked like absolutely recovering, all aboard the Alibaba train, and it's just sort of hit the buffers, isn't it? So for me, I don't know what I'd do. Don't know. It's all a bit too sideways for me at the moment. So I'd be in no hurry to do very much with that one at the moment. It's a bit too much again in the middle of the recent range. So if it got knocked back to 80, it's maybe an interesting trade, but not too interesting up there. Neo. There we go. The old electric car company. I would sell that. I would sell the rally, which has been a very profitable strategy on Neo for the last 2 years. So I would not believe the rally. Should we do that? Is that a trade we can do? Let's have a look at this in a bit more detail. Maybe this is I could do with getting some shorts on at the moment. So we've had the big downtrend that's been in place since whenever. And it looks like, okay, there comes a point where the market has fallen so far, arguably like natural gas, that even if it goes sideways, it's going to come out of this downtrend. But NEO has gone from $65 to about $10 today. But it is only the beginning of June that NEO was at $7, which was a new low for the down move. So for me, that thing is still in a downtrend. So I want to go short. So if I'm going to go short, let me think, so we'll do this trade in a sec. Where's my stop going to go? So 10.75, it's a volatile stock though. I'm going to go $12. Going to go short NEO with a $12 stop. Let's do that trade. Let's add it into the mix. I think I should have enough margin this week to do the trade. Here we go. I can sell 5 as a minimum. What did I say for a stop? $12. 12 as a stop. My risk is $10.70. Let's do more than that. Then let's risk 100. So we'll do 50. We'll sell 50 NEO. Sell short wherever they are now. 984. Stop at 12. Let's see how that works out. Okay, so we're short NEO. Let's see what happens with that one. But for me, the fact it has hit a new low for this down move makes me very suspicious of a rally at the moment. I don't believe the rally. Let's see what happens. XLK, the Spider Tech Sector ETF. XLK? Is it not just like the Nasdaq though? Spider Select Fund Technology. Yeah, it looks a bit like the Nasdaq. Oh, it's no. I see what you mean. Actually, it's actually up near the old highs, isn't it? That's incredible. Interesting to see what the makeup of that is versus the index. Anyway, wow, look at that. So what a cracking return you'd have made on that this year. The old hindsight trade from 122 to 175. It's more than 50%. Yeah, is that going to break out then? Incredible. Jason, you've got to stop firing all these questions. Join the WhatsApp group. There you go. QQQs, shorts covering. Let's have a look at Apple. I think when I last looked at Apple, I think it was a bit boring, but let's have a look at it. It's not boring, isn't it? What a great trend that was. So clearly we have looked at this before because that trend line is in place. So is that fresh all-time highs on Apple? They launched their, was it this week? They launched that whole metaverse virtual reality thing. Buy the dip, isn't it, on Apple? Would you buy it? Would you buy it now? For me, that would be one for next week. But that so fresh all-time highs yet again for Apple. First time we've seen all-time highs in Apple since December 2021. But an absolute cracking trend. Got a bit of a weakness next week, and then a turnaround. The famous, if I use my drawing skills again, the famous squiggle trade. Ba-boom. That would be absolutely one for me next week. Or if you bought it today, if I bought that today, where would my stop go? My stop would go probably the other side of 175, but I'd rather buy a dip. But I mean, this trend that's been running all this year now, done fantastically well for Apple. Another reminder of the importance of trading with trends. What is your opinion on the currency strength meter? Do you think it's a useful indicator? Well, I will give you my opinion on the currency strength meter just as soon as I've Googled it, because I've never heard of it before. Let's have a look. Currency strength meter is a technical indicator that determines the relative strength of currencies. Okay, fair enough. Do you know what? Like I say, never even knew it existed. I don't care about it. But again, because I only found out about it 20 seconds ago, perhaps if it helps your trading, then fair enough. The old pound's doing well at the moment. Chuff isn't. Yeah. No. It's not for me, but maybe some people might find it interesting. Natural gas, we did natural gas. Oil, 200-week moving average on oil, okay. TXG, what's TXG? Let's have a look at those. 10x Genomics. This sounds like this biotech stock. I'm expecting a crazy chart. Now it's a difficult one, isn't it? Okay, the trend is up, right? So if we were to look at this like a normal stock, the trend is up. Where, as usual for me, the question would be, where would the stop go? I would put my stop, the closest I put my stop, the other side of $50 for me. I'm always, as I often say, I'm always a bit, reluctant to trade these bombed out stocks, but in its favour, it is breaking out through the old highs from May 2022. So we're at 1 year highs. So for me, I'd be a buyer of the dip. I put a stop under 50. Let's see. That's what I would do for that. So so it is an interesting one. I think as usual though, I'd rather buy the dip. The risk is the thing takes off, and I don't buy the dip. I miss out on the dip. So but no, I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? Air Canada, Kevin's saying, just done well when we were looking at the American Airlines. Oh yeah, that is, isn't it? Is that a daily chart? That's interesting, isn't it? They've all turned around a bit, haven't they? What would you do? There's an argument for going short though. Actually, I think an aggressive trade is to say, well, actually they've done well, but maybe they've done a bit too well. I don't know if I would go short. If I had to do a trade on it at the moment, I would go short and put a stop at maybe 24 or 25. But, it has been recovering. This is Air Canada. It has been recovering since July last summer. Interesting. Another buy the bigger dip. Or even going back to there, look at that. Going all the way back to March 2020. The COVID lows. There you go. Yeah. What else have we got? Can we have a look at Swedish real estate company SBB? SBB_B. SBB_B. Well, I think you have more of a chance of pronouncing that than I would. I can see why you used the code. Absolute bombed out. It's not one for me. It's interesting that, isn't it? It's interesting because, so this is it Swedish krona or krona? I never know. The Swedish K currency was 68 of them in November 2021 and is under 5 of them now. And a bit of a spike up this week. Oh, last Friday, clearly on some sort of news. I wouldn't touch it with the barge pole because I don't like these bombed out stocks. I'm not saying this is the case with this one. I think it's too easy to get sucked into a bit of a rally, like if we go back to here, November 2022, only for the thing to dump again. So it is absolutely not one for me, that one. And you could argue, if you looked at it like as it was a normal stock, the trend from whenever it is, February of this year, is still down. So the 4-month trend is still down on that. So let's see. So no, not one for me. That one, when it's dropped to, what has it dropped? It's dropped more than 90%, hasn't it? Wendy's, which is the US fast food joint, isn't it? Wendy's, what would you say? Good bounce off support. Yeah, bit sideways, isn't it? A little bit. I mean, over the last year, a little bit sideways. As a trade, then yeah, I'd agree with that. Maybe it's going to have a bit of a look up at these old highs, maybe $24. So as a trade, with the closest I would have my stop, I would probably go under 21.60, 21.50 or something like that, or even 21.40. So as a trade, yeah, but no, I mean that's quite incredible, isn't it? It's just gone sideways since 2020, 3 years of going sideways. I don't know what happened there. Maybe some GameStop craziness. I don't know. Neo just announced a bunch of price cuts, so it might turn, but it needs to break big resistance. I tell you what I looked at this week, actually, on the subject of Neo. Is that in profit? Wow, we're making $5 already on Neo. On the subject of Neo, Lucid, which is the other electric, and obviously there's Tesla, but Lucid is the other one, which is the quite the fancy pants electric cars. They look really nice. I think they're about $120,000 though. Let's have a look. There we go. They look like that. So they look proper space age, the Lucid cars. I thought it was interesting. I was looking at it this week. I was quite tempted to be a buyer because, I mean, again, it's been absolutely clobbered. This is when it came to the market or whatever. It was $65 a share, and now it's about $6.50 a share. But I thought it was interesting. It had a bit of a crazy run up to 18 for whatever reason. I thought it's interesting that it is making a base or trying to make a base over the lows for the year down at wherever it is, $6. So it's quite an interesting one. Again, it's probably not one for me because it is so bombed out. But I thought it was interesting down here, Lucid. Let's have a look at Tesla while we're on the old electric car thing. Let's have a look at Tesla. All right, so I got stopped out of that trade on Tesla for a profit yesterday. The one we did back here, the gap into the earnings. Oh, and it's off again today, Tesla. Up today. I'd absolutely be a buyer of the dip in Tesla. It'd be nice to have a decent dip down to maybe the low 200s. But there'll be a big sell-off though. But let's see. So I'm out of it, but absolutely be the buyer of the dip on Tesla. Let's see what happens. If you want to see a bombed out stock, CGC, dope stocks hammered. You don't hear so much, do you, about the marijuana stocks anymore? Oh, I see what you mean. What a lovely downtrend that's been though. That's incredible, isn't it? So the highs were 2018, when I suppose, was that all the cusp of all the legalization stuff in the US? Trades up to $55, spikes up again, Feb 21, don't know why, $55, and now it's 64 cents. Wow, so that's lost nearly 99% of its value. That is horrific, isn't it? What a great short though from there. Well, there you go. So absolute, because they were really the goal-getting stocks, weren't they? I don't know where. Maybe it was back here, 2018. FSR Fixer. Oh, Fisker, yeah, the other electric car company, because they went under, didn't they? They did a beautiful car. So we turn this into the beautiful car live stream. The Fisker, is it the? Oh, it wasn't that one. Anyway, they did a really nice car about 15 years ago, like a Maserati, but they went under. But they've come back to life again. Yeah, it doesn't look that great again, does it? Still looks a bit downtrendy, doesn't it? To me, Fisker. Toyota, back in the old traditional cars. Toyota Motor Corp, listed in the New York Stock Exchange. Is there a Tokyo listing? Yeah, that's probably better, isn't it? There we go. It's a tricky one, that, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, it's really... let's take this step by step. If I was looking at it there, which is only April of this year, you know, I'd think the trend is down. So what happens when that trend changes? Bang. So I would be interested in buying it there, 2,050 yen. And it's all gone a bit nuts since then, isn't it? So again, I would be waiting to buy the pullback in that one. And the risk is that the pullback never happens. But it you know, it's absolutely, for me, come out of that downtrend. Let's see what happens. I'd rather buy a bit of a dip. Any views on Sophie? S-O-F-I. Sophie Technologies. What do they do? Finance, rental, leasing. Is that the right one? I mean, it looks a little... I mean, it does look like it's breaking out, doesn't it? That's what you'd say for it. So they went from $24 in November 2021 down to $5. So they lost 80%. The problem I have, and I often say this with these ones, it's just nuts, isn't it? It's doubled in a month. So it's a massive volatility, off the scale volatility. You could absolutely argue it's broken out. So I wouldn't trade it because it looks too volatile for me. But if we had, you know, if it stopped selling off, there's an argument for being a buyer. The problem is, where does your stop go? Me, I would still want my stop down these old lows the other side of $4, which if I'm a buyer at 7.5 is a wide old stop, isn't it? So, you know, as I often say with some of these stocks, pretty volatile. I don't really go anywhere near them. I did trade more stocks this week. I did Starbucks this week, so I bought Starbucks. Yeah, nice, boring. Trend is up, big support. I bought Google because I thought maybe it's going to break out. And I bought 2 yesterday, and I can't remember. PepsiCo was one. Oh, that's done all right today. Happy days. And what was the other one? Can't remember. Started with a C. CSTH. No? CTSH. Yeah, Cognizant Technologies. Bought those yesterday as well. So for me, I tend to buy the sort of ploddy, steady trend stocks. Ones like SoFi, whatever they are, scare me off a bit because they're so volatile. So they're not really ones for me. DPZ, long-term recovery buy, ? Domino's Pizza. What do you reckon? DPZ, I mean, I would go short that one. They did really well. I thought they did. Yeah, they were fantastic long-term grower. May 2012, right up to December 21. So what did they do? Went from, is that 30p up to about 550. I can see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, it's trying to make a base, isn't it, around the £3 level. It had a look, didn't it, down here, October. It's sort of faffing around. It's trying. So I'd be a little bit patient on that one for me personally. Because I'd say, well, maybe that trend is still down since July of last year. I'll be a little bit patient. What's it gone a bit crazy for? Has it had earnings news out? Domino's says it's open to apps delivering its pizza. Some analysts think it will bring in the dough. Lovely pump. Don't know. Okay, whatever. So for me, interesting to see what happens if it gets knocked back to £3. Domino's Pizza. Let's see what happens. But yeah, interesting one. And I think that's it, isn't it? If there's no more questions, that's it. What are these stock markets doing? Let's have a quick look at stocks. What's the old Nasdaq doing? Yes, come on, come down. But I do think stock markets for me are the ones to watch. Do you ever look at the fear and greed index? Do you mean the VIX, the volatility index? I don't. I very rarely look at it, if that's what you mean. It does. I mean, it does at the moment, the VIX, if I'm looking at the right thing, it does at the moment suggest complacency in the stock market. So the VIX is a measure of, often referred to as the fear index, a measure of how much people are paying for downside protection via options in the stock market. When markets go crazy, 2020, COVID, the VIX spikes up because insurance is suddenly expensive. When everyone's relaxed and markets are going up and isn't it all great and it's all free money, the VIX is low. So a low VIX, and we are at the lowest on the VIX since just before COVID, can suggest that perhaps a bit of complacency in the stock market. Let's see what happens. Maybe there's a big summer crash coming in the stock market. I don't think so, but it's quite interesting that the VIX is so low. So there's the VIX. Let's see what happens. But I very rarely look at it. I definitely never trade it because it's one of those things that you can sit with a position and just hope there's some sort of crazy event that it spikes up. Otherwise, it just sort of chops around a bit. So anyway, for me next week, stock markets obviously just this fantastic run we've had in stocks. The non-dollar against the yen markets are interesting. Oh, sterling yen off again. Swiss yen, is that going up? No, that's not going up just yet. So some of these markets are interesting. Pound against the dollar is interesting because we've broken out to a 12-month high. And natural gas, just to see what happens up here on natural gas. You know, are we going to see a bit of nerves coming in on the natural gas price like we did in May up here? Is it going to carry on going? Let's see what happens. Am I still in the natural gas trade? Just about. Still in the trade. Up $11 on the NEO trade, on the NEO short. No. So we sold them at 90 $9.84. They're $9.62 at the moment. Let's see how that turns out. So it's been a bit of a wacky few weeks, I think. Clearly, I'd be very surprised if the next 2 weeks look like the last 2 weeks have been, and we just have parabolic stock markets. But let's see what happens. I think there's plenty to watch over the next couple of weeks. But for me, stock markets is the big focus. As I say, if you want to try out the WhatsApp group, you should do it. It's well worth 40 quid, which is the discount. If you do that, I absolutely do think it will help your trading. But if you go to the website, davidjonestrading.co.uk, put in the YouTube code, you can sign up with a discount. You can see details of the trading course that I run, all the results on there. I mean, I tend to whiz through stuff, in these live streams. But, if you go to the website, there's a whole page on the performance of how I ratcheted up that 40%, was it? 50% plus return last year. There's details of all the trades, so you can see how all the trades work out. I said this morning on the WhatsApp group, I hadn't had a non-losing period. I had to go back to the beginning of November to have a non-losing period like the one I've had the last few weeks. But if you go to the website, all the details are there, and I am very open, I think, with how hard trading is and my own trading performance, because I do think most trading courses out there are not very good, and they promise you the world, and they're done by people who don't risk any money. So that's why I try to be open and show, the profitability of real accounts, whether it's the YouTube account that I run and we put the trades on, or my own account that I'm using for this public trading thing. But if you go to my website, you'll find out more about that. Any questions, drop me an email. Like I say, there'll be no live stream next Friday. The next live stream will be in 2 weeks' time. So if you want to keep getting all the updates, you need to be in the WhatsApp group. That's enough plugging of that for now. Good luck with your trading. See you in 2 weeks. Any questions, drop me an email, and let's see where these crazy stock markets are at the end of June. Okay, see you then.